ngao gi gyu dong drel wa gyu chik du ngao me pe de wa dang mi drel wa gyu chik nye ring chang dang ni dang drel wei tang yam la ne par gyur chi. And then we'll go, still on page 37, the Chenrezig and Green Tara verses of praise and mantra. Not veiled by any fault, white in color, whose head a perfect Buddha crowns in light, gazing compassionately at all beings, to you, Chenrezig, all-seeing one, I prostrate. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Tare liberates from psychic existence. Tutare liberates from the 8 fears. Ture liberates from all sickness. I prostrate to the liberator, Mother Tara. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. 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 And then back to page 34, and we'll do the Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer. And let's also do this one twice in English and once in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Excuse me, I go for refuge until I am enlightened. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings, including the frog in my throat. My apologies. Okay. Sangye churang soki chok nam la jang tu bardu dagni kyap su chi dagi chunyen gi pe sonam gi drola penchir sangye dru par sho.
Thank you, Donna. See, I need to get a clock so I can manage the time. Okay, do we have anyone who's here for the first time today? Nobody's going to admit to that, okay? So we're all experienced meditators. So let's begin with our first meditation session. Just to help calm our minds from all our weekend activities. So just begin by checking your posture, whether you're sitting on a cushion or in a chair, a little bit straighter than you normally sit. Not tense and tight, but kind of an alert posture, very grounded, whether you're on a cushion or in a chair. Eyes either lightly closed or slightly open, whatever you find most accommodating. And begin by taking just 3 deep breaths from the abdomen, stomach expanding on the in-breath, and contracting towards the spine on the out-breath. Just do that 3 times. And now we allow our breathing to return to its normal pattern. And we begin by setting our motivation for the meditation to follow and for everything we do during the time we have together this morning. And as much as possible, we think we are doing this for the benefit of all sentient beings. Ourself, our friends, our family, those people we don't like, those people we don't even know, and all the other beings in other realms, that everything we do is done for their benefit, including ourselves, not leaving ourselves out, but not just for ourselves. It's the bodhicitta motivation. And we might want to bring to mind especially all the people and animals in Western North Carolina. We don't even know what they're suffering yet. And special friends of Kadampa Center at Black Mountain YMCA that were so generous and kind to us on multiple occasions when we had our retreats there. We don't know what they've suffered, but we can think that we're sending them some positive energy at least. And we can do just a couple minutes of concentration meditation now. Place our mind, our concentration, our awareness on the physical sensation of the breath moving in and out through our nostrils. Every time our mind wanders off, we gently bring it back over and over again. Just the mind on the breath. Nothing more, nothing less than that. And we can end our meditation with a brief dedication. Acknowledge that we've created some positive mental energy just by sitting quietly in this way, and think, may that not be lost or dissipated, but may it ripen in the future in a way that benefits all sentient beings. You may relax your concentration. Okay, so if you've been coming for the last few months, we've had Dr. Brown, welcome. What did you want to talk about this morning? If you've been coming on the last few Sundays, we had some wonderful teachings by Venerable Tendrin, who is a long-term member of Kadampa Center and now lives in South Florida. But she was here in residency for a while, and she'd always start off with, how are your thoughts, how your mind? And she'd go from there. And what she was really teaching was a category of teachings of the Buddha that are referred to as thought transformation or mind training. So I wanted to just kind of follow up on that so that we get as much benefit from what we learned with her as possible. These are teachings that come from the historical Buddha. In the Tibetan tradition, we always talk about the lineage, which means that it can be traced back. The teachings came from the Buddha to this person, 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 and generally there's an unbroken lineage of the teachings that can be traced back to the historical Buddha who lived 2,500 years ago. And we have the incredible good karma to have Geshe Geluk here and Geshe Sampo, who are representatives of that lineage. They are teaching what they learned from their teachers, and it can always be traced all the way back. And when you're a qualified teacher, as they are, the point is not to put your own spin on it or try and come up with something new or original or shocking, but to impart the teachings as they were given to you, the pure, undiluted teachings of the Buddha. So we talk about the lineage in these teachings, and sometimes the lineage is broken, and some of the teachings may have been lost, or they may have been lost in a particular community or country and had to be reestablished, but that's very important. So if we look at the lineage, if we look at the teachings of the Buddha, the sutra teachings, S-U-T-R-A, which are the open, easily accessible teachings that we can talk about in general, there are actually three major categories of sutra teachings. Anybody want to take a stab at what they are? Can anybody take a guess? What are the major categories of teachings that have come down from the Buddha in unbroken lineage? Well, that's kind of separate, yeah. Not the Vinayas, the rules of conduct, yeah, for the monks and nuns, yeah. What are the main topics in the sutra that we talk about? What are the two wings of the bird? Okay, first is wisdom, which is an understanding of reality. Teachings on wisdom, which is where we talk about emptiness and use all these jargony words. The other wing of the bird, compassion, bodhicitta, okay? So those are the ones we usually talk about, But this bird has actually got a third wing, or maybe a tail, or a rudder or something, which is the thought transformation teachings. Those are actually considered a third category of the Buddha's sutra teachings. So if you want to know what the Buddha taught to everybody, easily accessible: wisdom, seeing reality; compassion, developing the wish that others not suffer; and thought transformation. So we're going to talk a little bit about thought transformation and what that really means. And basically, if you look at the lineage, all three of these came through this guy with the pointy red hat. Anybody know who that is? That's Atisha, yeah, who was Indian. Okay, he was a great student of the teachings of the Buddha. He lived in the 900s, I think. So he received the teachings on wisdom. He received the teachings on compassion. But at the time he lived, the teachings on thought transformation had the lineage in India where he lived had been broken. There was no one who had gotten those teachings from their teacher back to the Buddha. So he had to travel to Indonesia and study with some of the great masters there who still maintain that lineage of the teachings on thought transformation. And he came back to India. He reestablished the lineage in India, and then he went to Tibet. And he taught these teachings to his students, and in particular, the teachings on thought transformation came down to a guy named, lots of people, but the one we're going to talk about this morning is a guy named Longri Tempa, who was a student of Atisha's, and he was one of the lineage in that time period, the 900s, 1000s, who are referred to as what are they called? The Kadampa masters, okay? So this was a group of students basically of Lama Atisha and students of his student, referred to as the Kadampa masters. And what does the word Kadampa mean? Take each word of the Buddha's teachings as a lesson and putting them into practice, putting all the teachings of the Buddha into practice. So if you're not doing that, you have to leave. You can't come to Kadampa Center. Okay, just go out. So we all aspire to become Kadampa masters, but that's the name that Lama Zopa Rinpoche gave to this center. It's really a wonderful name. David, can we get a little bit more air in here? It's still kind of stuffy. Donna's fanning away to beat the band over here. Thank you. So Longri Tempa was a Kadampa master, and he was a specialist in the thought transformation teachings. What's the Tibetan name for thought transformation? Close? Close? Lo mein. No, you had to write the second time. Lo jong, okay? Lo jong. Lo refers to lo refers to mind, okay? When it's those short, hard syllables, you can tell that's Tibetan, not Sanskrit. Lo jong, okay? Lo means mind. Lo rig is another type of teachings, yeah, okay? But we're talking about lo jong. Lo refers to mind. Jong means transformation or training, but it also has the implication of cleansing, okay? So we're cleaning the mind and training the mind, okay? First, really, we have to clean it and then we can train it. You know, if it's completely contaminated the way it is now, it's hard to train. And so we refer to that as mind training, thought transformation, but that's a huge group of the teachings of the Buddha. And these are the three categories of sutra teaching. So we've been talking about, Venerable Tendron is really talking about Lojong for the past couple months. The other teachings of the Buddha fall into the Tantra category, which we're not going to talk about this morning, okay? Those are the more obscure teachings of the Buddha. Okay, so thought transformation, mind training, cleansing and training the mind. Venerable Robina refers to it as developing new habits. She says all of Buddhism is nothing more complicated, nothing more elaborate than developing new habits of mind, changing the way we think, getting rid of habits that make us unhappy, that cause suffering for ourselves and others, cleansing the mind of those, and developing habits that make us happy, okay? That enable us to help others, that make us more compassionate, more loving, more patient, more generous, okay? Just developing habits. And the important thing to remember is that we can do that because the mind is completely flexible. It has no fixed qualities. Okay, we think we're stuck with what we've got. You know, I'm an angry person, or I'm a depressed person, or I'm an impatient person. Those are just, according to the Buddha, mental habits. Habits that we've practiced long and hard and have gotten very good at them. It's like we've been practicing the piano every day to be an angry person. So that's kind of, it comes to, we can do it without even thinking, okay? But it is just a habit. It is not a fixed quality in the mind. And it can be cleansed through various practices, through studying, through contemplation. So we're talking about transforming the mind, cleansing the mind, training the mind in qualities that make us happy, okay? That bring happiness for ourselves and enable us to help others. So that's what he's talking about in this whole category of Lojong teachings, which is, there are many, many texts in there to help us with this huge subject. When we get to be a Buddha, you know, we don't have to practice thought transformation. You know, our mind is completely cleansed and we've completely developed compassion and wisdom. Okay, so we've got the habits that work, but on the way there, we need some help, and that's what the Buddha gave us here. So Longri Tempo wrote this wonderful text called the 8 Verses of Mind Training, and it's in the prayer book on page 161. And it's very short and pithy and to the point. So I'd like us to, let's see, do you think you can bring that up for the people on Zoom? Yeah, I know, yeah. It's page 161. This is Longri Tempo's text. We'll wait just a minute to get up for the people on Zoom. Hey, great. Thank you, Donna. Okay, so let's just read these together, and we'll pause for a few seconds after each one, just to, if we're not familiar with this text, to absorb some of the words, and if we know it, just to think about what it means for us. I mean, this is so concentrated and pithy, each line. So we'll start with number 1, and let's read these out loud together. Determined to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I shall hold them most dear at all times. Number 2, when in the company of others, I shall always consider myself the lowest of all, and from the depths of my heart hold others dear and supreme. Vigilant, the moment a delusion appears in my mind, endangering myself and others, I shall confront and avert it without delay. Whenever I see beings who are wicked in nature and overwhelmed by violent negative actions and suffering, I shall hold such rare ones dear, as if I had found a precious treasure. When, out of envy, others mistreat me with abuse, insults, and the like, I shall accept defeat and offer the victory to others. When someone whom I have benefited and whom I have great hopes gives me terrible harm, I shall regard that person as my holy guru. In short, both directly and indirectly, do I offer every happiness and benefit to all my mothers. I shall secretly take upon myself all their harmful actions and suffering. Undefiled by the stains of the superstitions of the 8 worldly concerns, may I, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, be released from the bondage of attachment. Okay. So, what's people's reaction to those verses? Anybody want to just give it off the top of your head? How do you react to that? What do you, let's see, do we have a mic to pass around? Yeah.
I think that almost every time people have a really hard time with number 2, considering myself the lowest of all.
Yeah.
And I know I've attended hundreds of teachings about it, and it still makes me like,
Yeah.
hold my breath for a second, and I have to really think hard about what it really means.
Yeah. What do you think it really means? You want to take a stab at
I
that?
think it really means that not consider yourself below everybody else, but at least at the same level. And it's so easy for us when we're thinking about or being around others to put a judgment mind. Oh, that one looks better than me. I look better than that one, or I'm smarter. They're smarter. It's putting on this judgment mind, and I think it means try to think of ourselves as all equal, and we're not better or worse.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have a reaction to that one or any of the others? Who thinks these would be easy to achieve? To start thinking this way, spontaneously, naturally, 24/7. Behind you, we have a hand up. Oh, you think it's easy? Okay, thank you. Okay. Who thinks it's impossible? Okay.
When I read these things, I think of it as a theory that might be an ideal behavior, but might be impractical or impossible. But just the concept of it, that somebody has advised it, I think is wise, even if I don't necessarily think I can actually follow it.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of us, our initial reaction is, that sounds nice, but that's not me. That's impossible. So, Donna, you wanted to say something?
I had a lot of trouble when I first encountered this text with verses 4 and 6, which basically say, when people are behaving in nasty ways to poor little me.
Ways. As Venerable Robina says, wicked.
To see them as a treasurer or as a guru, and it really, really helped to get teachings on these that say, this is about, seeing that these people provide that opportunity to practice, and it gets back to the teaching that the only way we're going to get enlightened is if there are other beings here to give us the chance to learn to be patient and learn to be kind.
Yeah, I mean, one of the underlying messages is you can't become enlightened in a vacuum. Your enlightenment is dependent upon having others to practice with. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it may involve going off and sitting in meditation by yourself for long periods of time, but you have experience of interacting with other beings, and they are a necessary requirement for your becoming enlightened. You cannot become enlightened without other beings, is an underlying message, I think, to almost all these verses. Okay, we have Amy. Oh, let's see, Heather, you want?
Yes.
Heather's got the mic, okay.
Well, it's funny because I've, read these verses and we've talked about these and in the past, and then I think about what we just finished with this whole discussion on self-love and having those healthy boundaries and knowing that we too, are included when we pray for compassion for others and all. But not, I thought I struggled as well, and with Donna and others, I struggled with some of these verses before having that talk of self-love, because I'm thinking, maybe I need to think myself as not worthy, and put myself and be okay with people treating me poorly. But then at the same time, I thought, well, wait a minute. No, this is the reverse. This is supposed to be a humbling message, one of equality. And so I think I struggled initially until that self-love discussion happened, where I could really understand its meaning and not misinterpret it.
Yeah, okay. We'll get to you in a minute, Amy. I think you bring up an important point. Yeah. Why is he telling us to do these things? Why should we transform our mind along these guidelines, along these lines? Why does Longri Tempus recommend that to us? Yeah, Jill, what'd you say? Yeah. Yeah, why is he recommending this? And Jill, you can.
Well, I have an actual example of that, the reason
But
we'll be happy.
This causes our personal happiness. If we think this way, if we transform our minds along these ways, that's going to make us happy, give us true, lasting happiness. It may make us better able to benefit others, okay? But this is the path to our own happiness, is to start thinking this way. So we're not leaving ourselves out of the equation at all. Yeah, this is the path to happiness that he's outlining here. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama, when he teaches, he always says that's one thing we all have in common. We all want to be happy. And that's not a selfish or ungenerous thought, the wish for personal happiness. We just go about it in very wrong ways. And Longri Tempo says, start going about it in this ways, and you will find true and lasting happiness. So let me go back. Amy, did you want to say? I hope we didn't steamroll over your point, yeah?
Oh, that's okay. This is my first time actually coming across.
Hold a little closer.
This is my first time actually coming across this.
Yeah.
So it's very enlightening for me to hear it. I like it because it gives you, for me, a path towards this place of happiness. So it gives you something to sort of hold, to evaluate yourself, because it's your journey, right?
Yeah.
And so you can go inward and see where you're at and how this resonates with you. So that's what I was saying, because as we were all reading through this, the things that I think stood out for me was the 4, 5, and 6 around, for me, I saw it as slowing your anger, be slow to anger and to hold people dear, even in the midst of what they're going through. And 5 and 6 are like compassion or forgiveness. And, and so it gets back to what Heather was saying around the self-love aspect, because you can't give anything to someone that you don't yourself first possess and have. And so if I can't understand and know how to love myself, have compassion for myself, then I cannot give that to others. So that's what I was going to share.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, each one of these topics, verse is huge. And there are multiple meditations and practices that you can subdivide each one into. Okay, this is just the very big guidepost, enlightenment, 200 miles. And then we find out which roads. We got a couple other people, Susie, and then Don, and then Elise. Okay.
I think it also helps us stop creating negative karma and get in the habit of creating positive karma.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
If you go back a couple of pages to the title of this text, it says, Overflowing Nectar Bodhicitta, and then underneath it, I think this is relevant, annihilating the demon of the self-cherishing mind. And I think every one of these verses is antithetical to self-cherishing. In other words, anti-ego, our worst enemy. We have to come to terms on each one of these verses with our sense of self, which is an illusory sense of self to begin with. It doesn't even exist, but we believe it exists, and somebody offends me, then I get angry and I have to retaliate. And a couple of the things that come to mind too is
Number 6, when someone I have benefited, stabs me in the back, that's a great time to identify the ego, yeah.
I remember this is something that you said many years ago, when you were in Birmingham, there was a guy who was dying, and anyway, he was in the Dharma group there in Birmingham, Alabama, and he read this every day, this verse, and it gave him such peace of mind and just helped him deal with the whole process of dying. So I thought that was, I remembered that. And lastly, this is cold and flu season, right? So we're all getting, at least most of us probably should be getting a flu vaccine. Well, what is a flu vaccine? You're getting a kill virus, right? It's supposed to boost our immunity. Well, the thing that boosts our emotional, psychological immunity is challenges. We don't, those of us who go through life, first of all, you can't go through life without challenges and dukkha and problems and all that. That's just the nature of existence. But having this kind of attitude actually boosts our immunity, our emotional immunity, to be more resilient. And without that, life truly is suffering. I remember one Zen teacher I had, she said, pain pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. I thought that was good.
Yeah, I mean, each one of these is just pulling the rug out from underneath us, the way I think. Let's see, we have someone online, we'll go to them and then go to Elise, okay?
Joanna, did you want to ask this, or do you want me to read it for you? I'll read it for her then. And this is along the same lines. She said, I don't understand accepting defeat and giving them victory when someone treats you badly.
Anybody want to take a step? Okay, Jill, Jill, let's see, we got a mic, a floating mic. Everybody needs to bring their own mic, yeah.
A little lapel mic. This is what I was thinking about with the happiness thing, to get to that, is some of you have heard me say I'm getting ready to leave and go to my 50th grade school reunion. Nobody does that, right? And these are my bullies, so I have a little fear, I've already seen them once, we've had a reunion, so this is another one. And these guys were horrible to me. I mean, like, it was terrible. To everybody, we've all been bullied. But I planned the party. I mean, I was in the group, and I was thinking about it when you were saying this. There's so much joy to go see them now. They're wonderful men. They are wonderful, and they're so kind and loving. So not only is it a little fear, just the residue, but looking forward to it. And when you said the words like you clear it out first, so all the forgiveness has happened. And there's just, like, I'm the one who's receiving all the happiness now from being bullied. So it's like, it just really shows me that, so the Joanna, like, when you let it go, and they've given great harm, but it just doesn't really matter anymore. We're old. But it's still, the emotional feeling is there, but you can replace that. So when you give that up, you're the one who benefits. So I just wanted to offer that, to try it, go back in your past and forgive people, but tell them about it.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Elise. Wait, Elise has been waiting, then we'll go.
I wanted to get back to a term that Heather used that is really appropriate to all of this, is humility. It teaches us humility, and
that's what Don was talking about too.
Yeah, and Don was
Self-check,
too.
getting rid of the
Instead,
self-check.
not self-loathing, not putting ourselves really low. And what is humility? It's just recognizing our humanity, our own and that of people around us. So when going through all of these, if we just recognize, we're all human beings just trying to get through this life. Sometimes you do it in a bad way, and you can't hold it against others or ourselves. We're just in this together.
Yeah.
This reminds me of something I've seen, heard the Dalai Lama say, and many others, I'm sure, which is, my greatest teacher is my enemy.
Yeah. Yep. You need them to get enlightened. Can't get enlightened without them. And then we have a nonstop supply of them.
And what comes to mind to me as well is the whole idea of equanimity, which, other people have been sharing about, free from attachment for friends or hatred for enemies, and developing that kind of neutrality. And the verse about, anytime an illusion arises, I've gotten better at that, because when
Delusion, yeah.
Yeah, because when my judgmental mind arises, I can correct that before I open my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very powerful one that we can start to work on now. Yeah, the moment of delusion. Who was it who would get off his horse by the side of the road and immediately do the prostrations? Well, I'm a teacher. Whenever just a thought crossed his mind, he'd dismount and do 1,000 prostrations by the side of the road or something like that. Just incredible. Whenever a negative thought, a delusion. Yeah, delusions generally are referred to anger, attachment, and ignorance. So whenever he had just a minuscule diluted thought, he'd say, got to do something about it. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. So I agree with what everybody just shared. Personally, I struggle from understanding the difference between forgiveness versus justice. So when some people are doing horrible things to others and we choose to forgive, following the teaching, following the wisdom, trying to get to the happiness, but then how do we make sense out of the justice, the injustice?
Yeah, okay. Great question. Anybody want to comment on that? Okay, let's go to Nili. You're allowed to tip, Chris, okay? Yeah. He'll be your server today.
When I think about what Geshe-la has taught us, I think the forgiveness is to free us from the pain and suffering, and the justice will come in the form of karma.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what we're talking about is our own mind here, okay? And that thinking this way brings us happiness, but doesn't mean that we don't fight injustice or that we don't want to relieve the suffering of others or we don't want the rule of law to continue, okay? So it doesn't mean we become completely passive, a bowl of oatmeal or whatever, okay? We're talking about what's going on in our own mind. And we can be very forceful out of compassion. So I think, yeah, I don't know if that gets at what you're asking. Forgiveness is always a word we come up with. What does forgiveness exactly mean? See?
I mean, I think if you look in the Buddhist text, there was one book that Dalai Lama he called The Importance of Forgiveness by His Holiness, but he never really defined forgiveness. And they were talking about his willingness to forgive the Chinese for all the harm that had been perpetrated on the Tibetan people and all that. But you never see the word forgiveness in Tibetan Buddhism. It's not in any book. You know, it's not talked about in the Lam Ram and all that kind of stuff. But it's, you know, so when I look at the word forgiveness, you know, I'm basically, you know, holding on to some kind of negative feeling.
It's holding a grudge.
Yeah. Something I'm holding on to. My ego has been assaulted, or at least my attitude about how things should be has been affronted, and I'm holding on to some negativity. And for me to say, okay, I forgive you, let's say somebody killed one of my kids, you know, and I'm holding on to that anger and so forth, you know, I forgive you. That doesn't mean I condone killing my kids. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't
go ahead and kill another one. Yeah, it's fine with me.
You shouldn't pay the price. You know, you shouldn't spend time behind bars. But as you were saying, it's very much about my practice, my mind. Forgiveness is simply letting go of negativity. That's the essence of it, in my mind anyway, is letting go. And who's holding on to it? It's the ego, and it's the egocentric, self-cherishing mind that doesn't even exist. It's a fabrication of ignorance. So very interesting to start unpacking the notion of forgiveness, something that we probably should talk more about.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
I feel that trying to think of the correct word, but basically we have to forgive, otherwise we are clinging to ignorance. We're clinging to not understanding. And I think back to all the bullies I've known in my life.
Hold it a little closer, yeah. Thanks.
All the bullies I've known in my life, they've all had horrible lives behind them. and they were still having horrible lives. So even as they were being bullies to others, they were getting the same, or in some cases worse, in their own background. And I think these verses actually call us to remember that we don't know everything about anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, this is verse number 4. Whenever I see beings who are bullies in nature and overwhelmed by violent negative actions, he's saying they are overwhelmed, okay? They have no choice but to act that way. They are being forced to act that way by their negative karma, okay? It's not, it's very helpful to start to see things that way, okay? What is verse 7 about? In short, both directly and indirectly do I offer every happiness and benefit to all my mothers. I shall secretly take upon myself all their harmful actions and suffering. What's that? That's a practice called Tonglen, giving and taking, okay? Which is, like I say, is a huge topic, and there are lots of books about that. And some people make that their main practice because it's so beneficial. But just to point out, number 7 is Tonglen, that's developing compassion. Verse 8, what's verse 8 about? Undefiled by the stains of the superstitions of the 8 worldly dharmas, may I, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, be released from the bondage of attachment. That's an understanding of emptiness or wisdom. Okay, so even though this is its own separate lineage, he brings in compassion and wisdom at the end. So he's really including the whole Buddhist path in these 8 verses. It's all there. You just have to realize these 8 verses, and you've made a touchdown. You're in the end zone, okay? Simple, isn't it, right? Okay? Very pithy. Okay, so let's finish by reading through them one more time together, again with a pause after each verse. Great discussion. Okay. Okay. Determined to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings, who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I shall hold them most dear at all times. When in the company of others, I shall always consider myself the lowest of all, and from the depths of my heart hold others dear and supreme. Vigilant, the moment a delusion appears in my mind, endangering myself and others, I shall confront and avert it without delay. Whenever I see beings who are wicked in nature and overwhelmed by violent negative actions and suffering, I shall hold such rare ones dear, as if I had found a precious treasure. When, out of envy, others mistreat me with abuse, insults, or the like, I shall accept defeat and offer the victory to others. When someone whom I have benefited and whom I have great hopes gives me terrible harms, I shall regard that person as my holy guru. In short, both directly and indirectly, do I offer every happiness and benefit to all my mothers. I shall secretly take upon myself all their harmful actions and suffering. Undefiled by the stains of the superstitions of the 8 worldly concerns, may I, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, be released from the bondage of attachment. So that's all you need to do. Easy peasy. Easy text to memorize, okay, if nothing else, so you have it at your fingertips. But this is the 8, if you study Tibetan Buddhism, you know everything's numbered. There are 8 of this and 7 of this. Is the 8 verses of mind training by Longri Tangpa. That's the root text, and it's incredibly concise and pithy, as I say. So thank you for the discussion, and we'll do our dedication and then have announcements.
Okay, on page 246 in the Gold Prayer Book. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain a notion of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may these never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And now on page 244 and 245, the long life prayers for His Holiness and for Khensa Rinpoche. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. The one who mastered his speech at a very young age, the one with great patience who received the name Avatare, the one with great precision who spread the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa on bliss and void, Lama, ornament of the yellow hat tradition, please remain until samsara ends. And now inside the back cover of the Gold Prayer Book, the prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Lozang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you are the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. And now, inside the front cover, as the long life prayers for Geshe Gelek and Geshe Sangpo. Supreme Guide, you lead us on the many paths of virtue. A shining sun, you give us the best of excellent explanations. Supreme virtuous friend, you are a constant Dharma companion. Lama who has renounced fame, may you ever remain. You who have steadfast imprints of virtuous qualities and keep the instructions of the glorious Guru in your heart, you who pass day and night with noble activities, great virtuous friend, may you have a very long life. And now 7 green Tara mantras to benefit all beings, including those we've been talking about who aren't so nice to us. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. 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 Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha.
I was really happy to hear Robbie referencing Venerable Rabina Corton this morning, because this Saturday, October the 5th, we're having our movie night. It's gather at 6:30, show starts promptly at 7, and it's Chasing Buddha, Life is Not a Sentence. And it's about the life of Venerable Rabina Corton, and she's a pistol, and I think you'd really enjoy learning about her if you don't already know about her. Now, of course, many of us are already familiar with her. Many of us may have even seen this film before a long time ago. Well worth seeing again, especially together. And for those who haven't met her, I think you really need to. And there'll probably be some really interesting stories of people here who have met her. And I think you'll really enjoy it. This Saturday night, 7 o'clock, free popcorn and drinks.
Thank you. David, you want to give an update on our renovation project?
While we're waiting for David to get to the front of the room, I'll just let you know that the new Discovering Buddhism module, Module 12, The Wisdom of Emptiness, starts tomorrow evening from 7 to 8:30 p.m. This module is going to be offered online only. Students can join on Zoom or watch the live stream on YouTube. It's a 4-week module that runs from September 30 through October 21. See the website for more details.
And I'm just looking to see where the TV camera is pointing here. One seems to be pointing here. Okay. I'm David, the manager of our renovation project. So after months and months of planning, working with an architect and others, finally construction began about 2 weeks ago, as you can see out there. And most of the wiring and the new plumbing is done. And you can see all the holes in the walls. Oh yes, we actually have electrical outlets here now. Yes, wished for years. And there's a light in the ladies' room, blindingly bright now. There are 4 new outdoor faucets on the outside of the building to water the gardens. And the cabinets are being built by a cabinet maker, custom made to fit our space. It appears as though things are proceeding very nicely, and we kind of expect it'll be done by the end of October. So things are going well. Inspections are occurring, like City of Raleigh. Inspectors have to come out and they have to approve each and everything. That's going on. And the contractor is keeping things nice and clean so we can keep using the building. All is going well. Our fundraising campaign is going well too. We had hoped to collect about $70,000 to supplement funds we already had. And we have collected about $55,000. Should anyone be thinking of a donation, just look at our website. The donate button up at the upper right will open a window. Then there's some selections there. What are you donating to? And there's the 2024 renovation project, and you can click there and draw it from your credit card or whatever. I think we're proceeding, and that's the news.